soon enough. But anyway, looks like I got a new fanboy, we'll call him, and he's and what this guy hopes, he hopes that I'm going to mention his name, mention his channel, and he's going to experience a little bit of growth or something. And I'm just not going to give him the pleasure. Okay, so we're going to call him Ismic 2.0. Okay, he's somewhere between a Wade Deaver and an Ismic, and he's one of those guys that's entirely too lazy to research any topics. So he's one of those knuckleheads that he will read half a paragraph and then think he knows enough to have an opinion. And, you know, they always end up sounding stupid. You just sound stupid. And dude, I hate to tell you, but you sound really stupid. And his problem is, instead of actually getting lucky and reading a comment from somebody that's got some sense, he's read a half a paragraph from Crack Squad, and now he thinks he's somebody and knows something. This is your typical lazy guy who he wants to be somebody, he don't know how to be somebody, and he's too lazy to put the work in. That's all of his entire amount of research is a comment from a Crack Squatter. Well, then he made a video, and then, of course, Crack Squad, you know, he was suddenly a Crack Squad hero because he made a video, right? Too stupid to know what it is he's defending. Too stupid to know what anything's about, right? And we're going to learn just how dumb this guy is as the video goes on. But I just wanted to touch on that he did say the word research.
If YouTube actually knew the kind of stuff he says in his videos and his live streams, I don't think he'd have a channel. That being said, like I told him in my comments, I have a relative that actually...
Dude, now you know people listening to this have seen other YouTube videos. You ain't shit.
So, because he deleted his comment directly after I said what I said. So, he tried to make a comment telling me that when he deletes his comments, which there's proof everywhere in the internet that he does it, that it's Google or YouTube doing it. Well, fun fact, they don't delete comments. They hide them for review if they're mean.
Now, I want you to listen to what he just said. He claims he's got a relative that works at YouTube, and he knows a fact that they don't delete comments, they set them aside for review. And then I want you to understand just how many comments get made on YouTube every hour. I want you to think of every YouTube video and how many comments get made an hour on YouTube. And he thinks in his mind, and he called it a fact, that they would be able to set those aside for human review. Every comment that could be deemed offensive or outside of talk. I'm going to tell you something, son. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard somebody say.
That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard somebody say.
After using the word research. It's humanly impossible for that to take place. They would have to have like 3 million employees to be able to do that. When you speak in absolutes about stuff you don't know anything about, or stuff on the internet, when people have computers sitting right in front of them, you're a fool. Never speak in absolutes about shit you don't know anything about.
Never speak in absolutes about shit you don't know anything about.
So I wanted to actually research this. So I asked, hey, does YouTube hide reported abusive comments until they're actually reviewed? And potentially inappropriate comments are actually hidden. The thing that you can look in, and you can research this a little bit more in depth if you want to, but YouTube has little like trip codes in their algorithm that tells them if things are inappropriate, certain vocabulary words, certain phrases, and so they have kind of this little preparedness event. But also they do rely heavily on people to report content that could be a violation of community standards. If you can't find a comment but you get a notification, then YouTube caught that one, either by their preparedness or because they have human moderators or because of a reporting process, and that's why that was hidden. They are normally hidden for 60 days. So content that violates the community guidelines can actually be removed for 60 days. If it's found to be inappropriate, it can be removed, and in that 60 days YouTube can say, yeah, we're going to delete it, or they can allow the content creator to make that decision. So just a little bit closer, when it's reported, it may not automatically be taken down. It can be reviewed and held for 60 days while in review per YouTube or per the creator if YouTube gives the creator the ability. This is for stuff like, potentially inappropriate comments, things that are prejudice or sexually explicit. These comments are not publicly visible unless you approve them to be shown. And they're not publicly visible also because YouTube is testing out new warnings for potentially harmful comments through their auto deletion and held for review program. Basically, they're trying to get up there with Instagram. So if their human moderators catch this, or the algorithm preparedness booby traps catch this, or it's reported, they can hold that for 60 days and YouTube can determine if they think it needs to be deleted. If they don't, they can still leave it, and if the creator doesn't take action in 60 days, they'll say, oh well, we're going to delete it anyway because the creator doesn't seem really active to make this decision, and we think it's kind of blurring the lines, so out it goes. Now y'all can read this, but some of these prompts, it tells you how that they came up with this new little network, and they're mirroring Instagram basically. YouTube's been working to try to clean up its comment section, try to be a little bit more family friendly, and we all have seen the impacts, right? And we were not blind. So this is what they've been doing. So there are just a few reasons why that you can get your comments deleted on YouTube. And so, there's a top few that are really important and people need to understand, and it also gives a little bit more research and knowledge if you read these things. Your spam, you're plugging in multiple repetitive things, and they've said, hey, you're not being beneficial to our platform, or you're doing something that is leading people to external sites that are inappropriate. And so you're considered spam. If you have an external link that is age inappropriate, has content that is going to violate community standards, hey, boop, you're out of there. They basically say that you're basically fraudulent or malicious. Then your comment contains explicit language. So they really are trying to, lock down on this and keep it more family friendly. And a lot of the explicit language, they've got a whole lot more bylaws you can go read about if you want to, but if you've listened to one of this man's lives, you've heard a lot of explicit language. Also, if your comment was classified as hate speech, and they also have a whole nother bunch of bullet points about what constitutes hate speech. And once again, if you've watched this man's feeds, you've probably seen a lot of speech that you would think is hate speech. They do have a complete hate speech policy, and here are some of the things that they look for attributes. This is age, caste, disability, ethnicity, gender identity and expression, nationality, race, immigration issues, religion, sex or gender, sexual orientation, victims of a major violent event, or the kin or veteran status. And there's a lot of other stuff that can also be in there. And once again, they have 60 days via human moderation, trigger mechanism in the algorithm, or being reported, that they can determine if that is not what they want on their site or in their comment section. So here are a few other things that you can look at. If you're posting content and you're not seeing your comments, then YouTube is catching them immediately. If you still can't find them, then YouTube has already pitched it. You may get the notification in YouTube Studio, but you're not going to see it. Just read through this. This is really great knowledge you get from research. But here's a very, core example. If you say certain things like, I'm glad that this horrible event happened, or that these people deserve this horrible thing to happen to them, or this person is a fill in the blank and I think they're fill in the blank, those are examples of hate speech as well. Where have we heard those? Oh, you can go previous in this video about what came out of that man's mouth and see that. So what happens if your content violates this policy? Well, it heavily relies on context and transparency and how they want to punish you, but they can remove you from the platform. So if your comment is offensive, and once again, go look at past behaviors. I'm trying to be very polite in this and just look at actual knowledge research. This is factual, empirical data that everyone can find. But look down here. Comments that glorify self-harm, gone. Your comments are pending review. This is another proof that YouTube does pull and hide comments. That's why they're not seen. And once again, they do have human moderators that are doing this. Y'all can go read this. Now, he went through YouTube's community guidelines a lot about who deletes on the YouTube channels, and and basically the human moderators can, the algorithmic protocols that have the little triggers built in can, and then when they reported, then obviously they can be reviewed and removed more easily. But what gets me is he ragged on that. But if you go to the same page and you scroll down, and here's the same thing, all the same information that we just went through, and he was so demanding that, hey, they can't catch them all. There's not humans sitting there doing this. It's not physically possible. They'd have to have 3 billion employees. Who deletes comments on the YouTube channel? If he had just scrolled on down, just look, this so much more. Just look. There are about 500 hours of videos posted every minute on YouTube. But they do have human moderators that do review content and comments and do try to maintain their platform. Look right here. YouTube does have a team of human moderators.
And he called it a fact that they would be able to set those aside for human review. Every comment that could be deemed offensive or outside of talk. I'm going to tell you something, son. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard somebody say after using the word research. It's humanly impossible for that to take place. They would have to have like 3 million employees to be able to do that.
And so there's the stinker of the whole crux of the problem, that sometimes research is subjective, and sometimes you just need to scroll down about, 3 more clicks on your mouse, and sometimes you do need to take other information from other people. Hey.
You ain't shit.
Never speak in absolutes about shit you don't know anything about.
And I did all of that without being negative. Bye, y'all.